Welcome to Raw Boxing TV. If you are here, please hit the thumbs up. We're going to be just a minute, a few more minutes to give time to the other people's, whoever else is going to join. Just give them a few minutes for YouTube to start sending this notifications. I'd like to remind you that um, by giving the thumbs up, it would help for YouTube to start sending the notifications early. So we'll wait just a few minutes here and allow people to start making their way in. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Obviously, we have this past weekend worth of boxing cards, boxing fights, and the news that we just got today in regards to Mayweather versus Logan Paul. A lot of interesting things. Let's just hope that we can get at least a few people in here. I'm not expecting a lot of people. I did not schedule this from early, so I don't expect a lot of people to make it in. But I'm gonna give it 5 more minutes, and then we'll jump in this train. If you come in, just hit the thumbs up and let me know that you're here. All right. I think I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and I'll start just out of appreciation, out of respect for those that are here. I don't want to keep you waiting. I'm not going to keep this life going for too long. So let's just hope that this turns out well, man. I'm going to need you guys to be interacting with me on this comment sections, okay? We're officially putting pedal to the metal in this channel all over again. I know I took a long break, but boxing is getting exciting again. We just had a pretty good, exciting weekend, and today we just got some news. So I would like to just go ahead and start with G Funky. G Funky, welcome, G Funky, the jazz musician. Welcome to the life. Yo, Rob, my favorite boxing channel is back in the building. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. I'm trying. What's up? Let me see. I don't want to kill your name. Faisan Khan. Give me a thumbs up if I said that correct. Guys, if you guys are watching and you haven't hit the thumbs up, I will appreciate if you hit the thumbs up just so that YouTube can start sending these notifications out. First of all, in my opinion, I'm not going to say super great weekend of boxing, but very good, very entertaining, right? I first want to start talking about the Josecito Lopez versus Santana fight because that was a fight that was the opener for the night. Throughout that entire fight, obviously from the beginning, from the opening bell, we could clearly see who the dominant fighter was. Josecito Lopez, right? 36 years of age. Obviously, with the wars he's been involved in, you wouldn't have expect a fighter like this to still keep cranking with the energy that he's showing. Um, but nevertheless, he was there. He was putting pedal to the metal. Opening round, boom, catches Santana, sends him down. But after that, it was just uphill for him and downhill for Santana. You know, yeah. Thanks, Khan. I didn't want to. I didn't want to kill your name. I'm horrible sometimes with a lot of names. But in Santana, man, I felt sorry for the dude. Yeah, I know he's a boxer. He signed a contract. Whatever. Yes, he's a warrior. But man, Josecito Lopez put on some work on that kid. Josecito Lopez brought the perfect game plan. You know, he didn't go toe to toe on the inside at the shorter distance. He kept himself from the mid range to the out range, worked the body. Josecito Lopez would sometimes come in with a lead right hand, follow with a left hook to the bottom, and then another right hand on top. And Santana just had no answers for that. No answers. And you know, guys, I understand that Josecito Lopez did not fought an excellent fighter. Yes, he fought a very tough journeyman. Maybe I like to consider him a journeyman, and you know, this is a guy that um, you know, still has a full time job. Obviously, boxing is not his main source of income, but nevertheless, he's there and he's fighting. But the guy went there last night. Let's just be honest to be a punching bag. To be a punching bag. And am I the only one on this? Just tell me on the comment section if you agree. Don't you agree that this fight should have been stopped by the ninth? Like the minute that boy was walking back to the corner, that the fight should have been it right there. The corner is supposed to be paying attention to their own fighter. Sometimes the referees have so much going on at once, right? And if you notice, last night was the case. As Santana was walking back to the corner and he was wobbly, the referee was making sure that Josecito Lopez was on his way back to the corner. But that is exactly what I mean. Santana's corner should have seen his fighter was first of all, the fighter was not going to do anything to change the fight, hadn't done anything significant throughout the fight, had been dropped in the fight. You saw when he went down how he touched his chin. And my gosh, you as a corner, as a coach, you have to think of the future of your fighter. Okay? This is a guy that is not a millionaire. That if he was to get hurt, I'm pretty sure he's the main bread of the income for his household. You have to think for another day. That corner should have been the one to stop the fight if the referee was preoccupied with Josecito Lopez. Sonteo Media. Yeah, the way he walked back to his corner was bad enough to stop. Thank you. That's what I thought. I know a lot of people, a lot of people will be like, well, they're warriors and he had never been stopped. And I'm pretty sure that he could have, but that's not the case. You saw what happened when he came back in the 10th round. He still wasn't okay. He was still suffering the consequences of that previous round. I mean, when that last round opened up, he didn't last long, right? He suffered damage that was unnecessary. He took punches that he shouldn't have taken had the corner done their job. But if you listen to Santana's corner throughout the entire fight, they had no answer to Josecito Lopez's game plan. Josecito Lopez was very methodical in the way that he made sure he didn't stay in the pocket to go toe-to-toe as we're used to seeing Josecito Lopez. Josecito Lopez, I can tell Garcia's been doing some pretty good work with him because last night was a very strategic game plan, and it worked for him. So congratulations to Josecito Lopez. And then we have the giraffe. What was his name? Fundora. Correct me on the comment section if I'm wrong. Fedora or Fundora. The tall Mexican Puerto Rican kid. Is it Fundora? Well, anyways, you guys know who I'm talking about. from the opening belt, okay? From the opening belt, bam, uppercut, uppercut. And all night long, all night long, that uppercut was at work. And why not? He had the opening for it. Santel Media. Matchmakers over at Temp Rank swore that they would never offer Chia a fight because they said he was a good guy, a family guy with a huge heart. And that's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. He has a huge heart. What does that tell you? If he's going down, he's going to get up and he's going to keep fighting. But the problem with doing that is you're forgetting that you might take damage that will forever change the course of your life, of your family's life, right? Huge heart. He was a damaged fighter. Bruce Trampler and Brad Goodman. Yeah, correct. Correct. But see, the thing is this. This is why I need to make sure that you guys understand that it's not that I'm not willing to take one of my fighters take risk if I was ever working a corner again. It's not what I mean at all. What I'm simply talking about is you as a coach, you're not only supposed to be paying attention to how the fight's taking place, if your game plan is coming to is taking place on a fight like last night, you have to keep your eye, you have to be fixated on your fighter's reaction. How is he reacting when he takes a punch? How does he come back for a counter punch? When he comes back to the corner, how is he breathing? How do you see his vital signs? Right? Your job's not just to sit your fighter there, put some Vaseline on him, throw water, and then tell him, hey, you gotta step it up. You gotta step it up. Anybody can give that instruction. Anybody can give that instruction. How about tell your fighter what's going on throughout the fight, right? As you're watching the round take place, study what's going on, and in your head, come up with a game plan. So when your fighter comes back to the corner, you can at least give him some decent instruction as to the things he can do to maybe change the course of the fight, or maybe start building to change the course of the fight. But last night, the only thing you saw was, man, you got to step it up, man. You got to be a little quicker, man. And Santana last night was very, very mechanical, very robotic. Kept his hands in tight, little mummy steps. Um, I'm just below good upper body movement. I have to be real with you. The, the thing that messed me up the most last night was that fight. That fight made me mad. That the corner made me mad. Santana never seemed to recover from the first knockdown. Correct. Correct, because Josecito Lopez just kept building round by round, round by round. He just kept building after that, and Santana had no answers at all. And the thing with Santana is, with a fighter like Santana, let me see, because I don't want to come across as I'm being mean. Obviously, I have the utmost respect for any fighter that's in there, even if he has a 99 defeats with only one victory. If he decided to step in the ring that night, that means that night he decided to put his life at risk. So therefore, I owe that fighter the utmost um, respect. So okay, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But with a fighter like Santana, you as a coach have to bring him back to the gym after a fight like last night. Whenever he recovers, whenever he's ready to be back in the gym, you need to have a sit down with him and see what are his expectations towards his future. Now, a lot of fighters sometimes are not realistic when it comes to that. They want to create themselves a brighter future, and you as a coach, you're like, inside of you, you're like, no, no, that's not it. That's not going to happen with you. And so then you have to find a nice way to break it to your fighter, because you don't want to hurt your fighter's feelings. You don't want to make him feel like he's not worthy or anything like that. But I would sit Santana down and explain to him what are the plans for his future. I would actually tell him if I can even serve him as a coach. If I actually honestly think that, listen, I'm not the coach for you. Maybe you need to look for a coach that has this characteristics. You have to be honest with yourself. Leave your pride aside as a boxing coach and tell him that. Because if not, you're gonna have a very damaged fighter if he keeps continue to fight like that and you keep cornering like that. So anyway, let's move to the next fight because yeah, like I said, that was the fight that got me really mad last night. And what was that Puerto Rican kid name again? The giraffe guy, Fendora. Anybody in the Fendora? Like I said, they opened up. He opens up with the with the uppercut, and that was the key punch for him. Um, and every time that he shot that uppercut, due to his height, he didn't have to dip in that much. He didn't have to step in that much, obviously, because he has those long arms. But that open uppercut, that lead uppercut, was the one that started everything for him. And then after that, it all went downhill. Now, let's take a breather here for a second. Let's not get ahead of ourselves with this fighter. Last night, as you could hear the commentators, it's not time to throw this kid in with the Lions. This is a baby. This kid is a baby. Literally. What is he? He's not even 19 years of age. You can't throw this cat in there with none of the Charlos. You just can't. You can't throw this cat in there like that. Give him 6 more fights. Let him develop a body. Let him develop more experience. As of now, he's just been taking advantage of his reach. He's been taking advantage of his height, obviously. Black and Brown Boxing. What up, bro? Hey, what's up, man? Appreciate you stopping by the channel. Let's see here. I hope you're joking about Floyd Mayweather. No, I'm not. We're going to get into that as soon as I'm done talking about this fight. We're going to get into that. I really want to get your reactions on this, but save it. Do not post anything yet. Save it. Let me finish talking about this fight just in case any of my guys decide to join the live chat, but the live. So again, with this kid, we want to work with him smart. We want to be patient. We want to have another 5 to 6 fights to really study the development. His progression, excuse me, before we can say, okay, it's time to start throwing him in there so he can start swimming with some baby sharks, and then we'll try him out with a few teenage sharks, and then if he dominates those teenage sharks, then we can start studying the possibilities to throw him in there with the big boys. But as of now, he's still a baby. He really still a baby, and we need to be careful. His manager promoter, Sampson, will make sure Fundora is developed before a major fight. And that will be the smartest thing to do. The smartest thing to do, Sontel Media. Because I feel that because of the lack of talent we have today in boxing, and trust me, we do. I know that you're probably sitting there thinking, what is Ranger talking about? We got Errol Spence. We got no. Listen, I go back years. You're talking about a guy that's been watching boxing for years. With the lack of talent we have today in boxing, I feel that people automatically find a fresh talent, something that's coming up, and immediately they want to see them in there with the guy that's dominating the division, and that is the worst mistake. Okay? The worst mistake. That's why you see people today making horrible excuses. Teofimo Lopez is Doc and Haney and stuff like that, because they want to see fights, right? But they don't realize that these are kids and that is beneficial for us as boxing fans if we enjoy them now, see them progress, and then when they really hyped up and really hot and really experienced, put them in there, dump them in there. You're gonna get a better fight like that, more exciting for boxing, more exciting for boxing. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, and like Sonteo Media was saying, I'm pretty sure the promoter is going to do that. And again, it's better if that was the way that they do it with him. Because let's just be honest, guys. Um, a fighter like that has not shown us anything that's worthy for us to say, man, he's ready for the big boys. I mean, the fighter he fought last night from Ghana, I get it. My respect. Again, my respect as a man, as a human being, as a fighter. But that the level is not quite there yet. Camper Cat Media, Ricky Hatton would beat Spence and Crawford. Ooh. Which Ricky Hatton? Prime Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton versus Costazu. Ricky Hatton could give them trouble. Mainly because of the relentless pressure. And I appreciate that you're posting that. I can kind of see that, but then again, the thing with Spencer is that in Sean Porter, you have a similar fighter to Ricky Hatton, and I dare say Sean Porter's more talented than Ricky Hatton. And Spence Jr. was able to find a way to somehow defeat Sean Porter, find a way to somehow drop him. And to be honest with you, Ricky Hatton's one of my favorite fighters. When you saw Ricky Hatton fight, was a night of excitement. The fight with Mayweather, even though that he lost in the manner that he did, it was still an excellent fight because he was on Mayweather's grill. To me, it was I was very down when I saw him get dropped by Pacquiao. But that's part of boxing. Let's move on. The jazz musician. Do you think there is a lack of talent because the old school real trainers have closed their gyms? No doubt. I'm not saying that is the only reason, but I'm going to tell you no doubt. Because today anybody can be a trainer. You got guys you got guys that just like boxing. They visit boxing gyms from time to time. Okay? And all of a sudden, they can get their trainer's license. I think it's like $37 here in my state to get certified. Once you get certified, just to buy it. And then, listen, to very few people can be trainers without having an extensive boxing career. One of the best trainers in the history of Olympian boxing, amateur boxing, was a guy by the name Alcides Sagarra, who was the crappiest trainer, the crappiest fighter you could ever imagine as an amateur. But as a trainer, he produced over 47 Olympic gold medals, 36 Pan American gold medals. I can't even tell you how many world championships as an amateur world championships he produced. So you don't necessarily have to be a Mayweather to be a great trainer. You just have to have a bit of experience as a fighter yourself, and then have an imagination when you're seeing a fight take place. Have an imagination of the things that you can do to turn around the outcome of the fight. Now, obviously, it doesn't matter what you bring to your mind. It's ultimately going to be up to the fighter to execute whatever commandments you give him. But fights are won in the gym. Facts. Fights are won in the gym. I don't want to sound like I'm throwing flowers to myself, but when I was maybe 21, 22, I was hired as the boxing coach, as the main boxing coach for an MMA school called the MMA Highlanders. And when I got in there, uh, they had a record of two victories and 8 defeats, and they were all by knockouts. All those guys had lost by knockouts. All it took was about a month and a half or two of fundamentals. Fundamentals. Sometimes I feel like people get too caught up on the Mayweather style of mid work. Fundamentals. I was fixated on teaching them how to throw a perfect, non-telegraphed, quick, and snappy jab. Right? Keep it at mid-range. Fixated on showing them how to throw a good 1-2. One of the greatest Olympic heavyweights of all time, Teofilo Stevenson, won gold medals, Pan American level and Olympic level, with just a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, boom, out of there. Bring me the next one. Once I left that school, they were 27 since I entered, 27-2 victories. So, yeah, the lack of talent today is, first of all, the lack of great trainers, and second of all, the lack of interest for the sport. Because before, there was so much interest in the sport that 1,000 kids will come in and say maybe 100 were great. But today, maybe 100 come in and 5 are great. You see what I'm saying? You seeing that equation that I'm showing you? So maybe that is the reason. G Funk says here, 140, Ricky Hatton would have the best chance. Yeah, I agree. That cost, again, man, I don't know I really don't understand what happened with Ricky Hatton, how his career went from this to this with Mayweather and then just tanked down. But every fighter's got their climbing to do. Then they reach that plateau effect, and then it's downhill from there. And if they're smart, they put the brakes before they pick up speed going downhill. And I think Ricky Hatton did the right thing. The jazz musician, Ford or Spence? Which Ford? Jazz musician, which Ford? What era are we talking about? Are you bringing Spence with an old school fighter, Vernon Forbes, a Ford? Are you talking about? No, Julius. Julius was never at that level to where you guys would know them. He was a local fighter here. Yeah, if you clarify me which Ford you're talking about, I can kind of give you something on that. Camper Cat Media. Freddie Roach is an example. I think Freddie Roach is an example of two things: of persistence. Freddie Roach is an example of somebody that can take a job that was started wrong, get his hands in there and remodel it to make it good, and maybe even great. What do I mean by this? I've never seen Freddie Roach build a talent from scratch. However, Freddie Roach can take a mediocre fighter, right, and make him good. And can take a pretty decent fighter or a very good fighter and make him great. Manny Pacquiao, for example. So Freddie Roach is an inspiration because obviously that the issues that he has and how he's able to fight through it, how he is dedicated not only to himself because he has to take care of himself, but he's also dedicated himself to the sport and to his fighters. And he did a lot of good for Manny. I don't think we would have had a Manny without Freddie Roach. I just don't think that we would have had that. So the jazz musician, correct that trainer's name in the chat. The Olympic trainer you mentioned. Oh, Sagarra. Let me see. I'll tell you right now, man. Let me tell you something about this trainer, guys. This trainer right here, he will give a command, And if the boxer was not executing whatever he said, when the boxer would go back to the corner, he will slap the boxers. Tough. Like, pap. What are you doing? Didn't I tell you to throw the jab? Pop! You're gonna go out there and snap the jab again. And the commentators, obviously not being used to seeing this, would criticize him. I'm trying to make sure that I give you the correct spelling because Cuban boxing trainer. But yeah, man. D style boxing. What up, bro? What's going on, man? Hope everything is going hope everything's going great with you and your channel. I can't find the if you just Google Cuban boxing trainer Sagarras, you'll be able to get that. You'll be able to get that. Let's see. I meant see the jazz musician, Crawford or Spence. Jazz, I'm gonna hold up to that. Let me finish talking about because I want to get into the Mayweather because I want to get that joke aside as fast as I can. So then we can jump into the good. It's kind of like when you go to a restaurant, they give you that little appetizer, but you kind of like it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, and you're just eager. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna give you the answer on that. Let's see. This style boxing. Trejida Sr. slapped his own for sure. At Trinidad Sr. too. Trinidad Sr. would slap Tito Trinidad in the corner. But Sagarra didn't care. Sagarra would slap every fighter in his roster if they would not follow his instruction. I mean, slap him hard. So, yeah, we do have a lack of talent. Sonteo Media. There's another gym in New York with tons of talent called Sosa's Crew, a team of 10 really talented fighters. Just to name a few, Chris Colbert, Nikita Ababi, Rishat Mati, Richardson Hitchens, etc., etc. New York City, okay, watch this. New York City, Philadelphia, California have always produced great talents. Always. Yes. I'm not sure if it's going to be with a Z at the beginning or an S. Sagarras. But I'm pretty sure if you just Google legendary Olympic boxing trainer or Cuban trainer Sagarras, you'll get his Wikipedia, everything that he produced, and you can see his ridiculous, horrible, shameful record as a boxer himself. He was horrible. I'm talking about you can go grab any homeless guy from the streets, put him a pair of gloves, and that homeless guy will beat this guy. But he just had a vision for boxing. A vision, like he explained one. He said, while I was in the ring, I would play out the movie, but my body couldn't execute it. It was easier for me to talk about it, teach it to somebody else than me executing. And that was the case with him. And boy, was he not kidding. Was he not kidding? Because everything he produced, put it this way. Y'all remember, I don't know if you guys have followed Olympic boxing that much, but you remember how every Olympics, Cuba would bring, say, 10 out of the 12 gold medals available? And notice how Cuba has only been bringing 3, 4. It's because Sagarra is no longer the trainer. You following what I'm saying? Sagarra is no longer the trainer. Sonteo Media. There you go. Alcides Sagarra Caron. Correct. There you go, jazz musician. That's the name right there. I'm going to leave it in the screen so you can see it. Alcides Sagarra Caron. He produced Teofilo Stevenson, which if you guys want to see heavyweight amateur knockouts, look for Teofilo Stevenson. Look for Felix Savon. Felix Savon fought Shannon Briggs when Shannon Briggs was killing it in the amateurs, and he destroyed Shannon Briggs. I mean, he was just legendary fighters, legendary fighters. What do you say, guys? I know I'm having fun with this topic, but should we just get the Mayweather stuff out of the way? I can keep talking about this, but if y'all want to move to the Mayweather, just so we could put that behind us, I'm willing to do it. But yeah, man, if you have a son that wants to start boxing and has never laced the gloves, listen to me very careful. Whoever's in here and potentially has a son that wants to start boxing, the very first thing you want to do before you pick a gym is you want to visit the gyms, each gym closest to you 2 to 3 times. Take a look at the interactions in between the coach and the fighters. Take a look at the atmosphere in the gyms. Okay? It's good if you ask the coach, "Hey, which days are your sparring sections? I want to come check them out." And they just study the coach, you know? And then once you do make a choice for a gym, make sure that that coach, unless your son is just like a talent, it's like a magnet that just learns things so quick, make sure your son doesn't even spar for the first time in no more than 6 months. I see kids that start on the gym and immediately within a month they're sparring. That's horrible. That's horrible. You want to make sure that kid has all the fundamentals down to a T, the jab, the 1-2, the 1-2-3-4, the up, the bottom, the bobbing, the weaving, stepping aside, knowing how to move the ring. I'm not talking about making him a Mayweather. I'm talking about teaching fundamentals before he's ready to go in there and taking the punch. Okay? Very important. You don't want to throw your kids to the wolves like that. You can potentially have a great fighter in your hands and not know it and damage him for life for not doing things the correct way. The jazz musicians. I was wondering why Cubans was not dominating like they used to. You explain it well. Yeah, and it's a fact. And don't get me wrong. Cuba still has one of the best boxing programs in the world because although they're only taking 3-4 gold medals each Olympics, it's still more than a lot of the countries that dominate boxing. Like US might take 2. Russia takes 2 or 3. But before, with Sagarras, out of those 12 available medals, 10, 11, and in some occasions, all 12 of them would come to Cuba. And after he was gone, that was it. That was it. So that's what shows you. You see that drastic drop from a minimum of 10 medals to down to 4 and 3, sometimes 5. That right there tells you the difference in coaching. The difference in coaching. So the best gym in Atlanta is the Decatur Boxing Club, is run by Xavier Biggs, older brother to Terrell Biggs. He's from Philly. Hey, if you have a kid boxing there or what, musician? If you do, man, I hope that, I hope everything goes well for him. Or if you're even the one boxing, I'm putting a kid on you. I don't even know how old you are to be honest with you. But anyways, you can continue posting whatever you want, and I'll read it and we'll go into it. But let's get this joke behind us because it's bothering me. It's bothering me. I'll get to you now, Suntel Media. I'll get to you now. Mayweather announced today, made it official that he's coming back to fight Logan Paul. Logan Paul. I just did a video about Nate. And boxing, you don't play boxing, people. This goes for Logan Paul. This goes for Mayweather. I mean, can you imagine? Watch this for a second. Can you imagine? Because that's the beauty about boxing. Can you imagine if by any miracle, because he would take a miracle, Logan Paul just lands a lucky one and just puts Mayweather to sleep? The embarrassment that Mayweather would suffer for the rest of his career? Think on that for a minute. It's all money. It's all money. I was listening to D Style earlier, and he was saying a lot of the things that 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 I was thinking. Like, I think Mayweather just trying to break Roy Jones Jr.'s numbers with Mike Tyson, and I don't think it's gonna happen because Mike Tyson, it's a legendary name. Some people might call him overrated, whatever the case might be. You mentioned Mike Tyson, and he sells. It sells. Suntail Media. There's hundreds of gyms in South Carolina. Ooh, so I go to South Carolina a lot, man. A lot. Columbia, South Carolina, a whole lot from my work. I go to North Carolina a lot, Buffalo, New York, Denver, Colorado. I go to all those places a lot. So if you ever see me around there, man, just let me know. You know, don't be afraid. But definitely pick your gyms carefully. Back to Mayweather, Logan Paul. I think Mayweather's trying to see if he can pretty much outsell Mike Tyson. And here's the reason why I think he will fail at that. When he fought McGregor, that was a very anticipated match because of the type of fighter McGregor is, the type of fans he was bringing in from the UFC, and all of the fans Mayweather is bringing in from boxing. And even that fight is under the Mike Tyson's number. Hit the like button. Think about it. There isn't a way to me that Mayweather will outsell Mike Tyson. And yes, Logan Paul, in my opinion, his career about boxing is not serious. It's all spews for views. It's for YouTube. Let me tell you, a lot of these promoters are allowing this crap to take place because they think that they're adding new followers to boxing. They think that this YouTube following is going to come in to watch a fight and stay. And that is not the case. Some of these YouTube have been on undercards of fights, and the stadiums are packed. And when that fight ends, they leave. And then the main event looks like they're fighting for nobody. Okay? These people are not coming in for boxing. They're coming in to watch their YouTuber influencers, and then fight's done, I'm gone. I think this is becoming a joke. I mean, I think the Legends Only League could be legit, but the YouTubers, unless they're going to be serious, it's a joke. And then somebody like Mayweather to be accepting a challenge or fighting Logan Paul, that's a joke as well. I mean, we just have to be real. And then before you try to even insinuate that I'm a Floyd Mayweather hater, if you've been following me for all these years, you know that's my favorite boxer. But I'm attached to the sport of boxing, not Mayweather. I am a fan of boxing first as a sport, then Mayweather. So I got to be raw, honest, and unbiased for you guys. And to me, it is a joke. Mayweather is putting up a joke with this crap. So Mike Tyson, the face of boxing now, with those pay-per-view numbers, LOL, you know, you might LOL it, but if you think about it, name me one fighter. Name me one fighter that has brought those numbers. Just one. Just one. I'll wait. None. Name me one fighter that has sold their fight so quick as Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. did. None. So is Mike Tyson the new face of boxing? It wouldn't hurt to say he is, because according to him, he's going to continue doing this Legends Only League. And if he does an Evander Holyfield fight, I dare say he's going to break his own numbers. The numbers will increase even more. So is Mike Tyson the face of boxing? Yes. But there is the reality that it's just a Legends Only League. That's just keeping it real. That's just keeping it real. But to be honest with you, Mike Tyson's hand speed is not bad. His upper body movement is not bad. Roy Jones Jr.'s hand speed is faster than a lot of heavyweights today. And if you disagree with me, bring it. It's right there as the comment section. Roy Jones Jr., old 51-year-old Roy Jones Jr.'s hand speed is faster than a lot of elite heavyweights today. And when I saw Mike Tyson making a miss in the manners that he did, even though Roy would get a couple of good ones in there from time to time, I was like, damn, this cat, he's been away for 15 years, but that muscle memory, is there. The jazz musician, no one. That's what I mean. Yeah. If he the best, if the best fight, the best continues. Oh, if the best fight the best continuously, this wouldn't happen. I agree. And this is one of the things that we've been talking about in all of the boxing forums I've been participating on, like Hispanics causing havoc. The lack of negotiations between promotional companies, the existence of that Cold War between promotional companies is depriving us of great fights, right? And that's why you see boxing fans today running to grab fights like this. I guarantee you Floyd Mayweather will at least do 900,000, right? So, yeah, I mean, I agree. And it's sad. I wish I had the power to reach and try to voice my opinion on this, but some tell media, you're spot on with the fans on the YouTubers leaving after that fight. That's why Haney fought before the YouTubers in Los Angeles. Even Billy Joe Saunders' little fight was before Logan Paul. I'm telling you, man, listen, somebody like Logan Paul brings in a bunch of teenage girls, a bunch of young punks, and when okay, that sounded disrespectful. I'm sorry. A bunch of young teenagers, let's just put it that way. The fight, their influencers fight, and they leave. And then the main event has to fight in front of 17 people drinking beer in the corner, and 2 drunk ones over there, and 2 good ones over here. So these promoters are just making a lot of money that night, but those fans are not staying in boxing. What I'm trying to say is, next time there's a pay-per-view, those same fans that came to see Logan Paul, they're not going to buy that pay-per-view unless Logan Paul is fighting. So we have to. I'm not sure if they're doing it out of desperation, just to make some quick cash because of the lack of audience. Therefore, there's a lack of cash because of the COVID. I'm not sure what the thing is, but this YouTube influencers, when they're fighting and they're bringing their fans, those fans are not staying for boxing. And then it's causing damage because they're coming to occupy the seats of real boxing fans that are going to stay even to the end. And that's why you see the undercards with the YouTubers full. The YouTuber fights, everybody leaves, and then the main event is fighting in front of 3 people, pretty much. So, anyways, what do you guys think about the Floyd Mayweather? I mean, are you gonna buy it? Let's be real. Let's be real. You're not hurting my feelings. Let's get into it. Tell me your thoughts on it. The reason I named my channel Raw Boxing TV, that word raw, because that's how I like to be. I don't care about your feelings. I care about you as a follower, but your feelings will never be valued over the truth. I got to give it raw. I got to keep it raw. So tell media, the promoters were doing this before the pandemic. Cash grab, in my opinion. I agree as well. They're looking for a quick cash grab. And, promoters like this are also damaging the sport. They are. It takes somebody with more than just money to be a boxing promoter. You see what's happening with DAZN, right? DAZN came with a lot of money, but their boxing skills are crap. Their matchmakers are not doing a great job. The way they're handling the sport of boxing, it's crap. Th- That's my opinion. Yeah, they have good fighters. They have a good roster. But to me, with the amount and the insanity of cash that they bring, my goodness, you should be doing a lot better than what you're doing. You know, that's just it. That's just it. You know, I don't know. I'm not too keen to this Mayweather stuff with Logan Paul because you don't play boxing. And I know Mayweather started this. I'll get to you in a second, jazz musician. I know Mayweather started this exhibition matches with the Japanese fighter. And yes, Mayweather made it look so easy, so easy. The guy didn't even have six pack. The guy didn't even train for the fight. He just showed up, made his quick little $9 million, and went home. But the thing is, what's up, Chicano Prophet? Good to have you here, man. The guy went to Japan, grabbed his little $9 million, and now he wants to repeat it, but this time he's not doing it against a real fighter. He's doing it against freaking Logan Paul. That has 20. I don't know how many subscribers Logan Paul has. If anybody knows that, just drop it in the comment section. I'm pretty sure it's millions. 20 millions, 30 millions, 50 millions. I don't know. If anybody has that info, drop it in the comment section just so that I know. So I don't want to say nothing out of place. What's up, Chicano Prophet? Once again, thanks, man, for stopping by. But yeah, I think Mayweather figures, Logan Paul has that army of followers. And yeah, man, bring it in. Bring it in. Bring it in. Logan Paul has that army of followers, and he's probably thinking, hey, listen, we could probably make a lot of cash. Camper Cat Media. It's like me fighting Sugar Ray. I guarantee you, if you were fighting Sugar Ray Robinson, I guarantee you would bring more money, more pay-per-view sales than even Mike Tyson. Facts. 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 Let's see. Logan Paul, YouTube, million subscriber, Logan Paul. Millions of subscribers. Yeah, but does anybody know exactly how many subscribers? 20, 30, 40, 50 millions? Hey, Camper Cat, I guarantee you if he was fighting the legendary, the amusing, my wife, 22.6 million. See what I'm saying? There you go. Jazz musician, 20 million. All right, same ballpark. Ballpark. That's all it is. They're just trying to bring, listen, they're just trying to bring that in, man. And they're not fans that are gonna stay to inject a following. Let's see here. Give me a second. Yeah. They're not fans that are coming to stay, bro. Chicano Prophet, I get it. It's too easy for Mayweather to make millions upon millions. I mean, it is, but see, let's see, yep. But Mayweather is still A side. Correct. And listen, Prophet, don't get it twisted. I'm not a Mayweather hater. That's my favorite boxer. G Funky would tell you, D Style would tell you. You can go to my channel. That's my favorite boxer. My whole thing is the sport of boxing, okay? Let's see here.
What's going on, bro? Can you hear me?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You got me?
I got you, brother. I got you, brother.
All right. What's up, man? Just stepped in, man. What's going on?
Not much. Why you not in the camera? You ugly or what? Put your face on there. I want people to see you, man. You got the caldo dripping out of your barba?
Oh, yeah. I'm just kicking back, man. I've had a busy day, so.
I got you, man. I got you, bro. But listen, we're going over this Mayweather stuff, man. Just give me your raw, uncut, uncensored, PG-13. comment. We're trying to keep it clean but raw at the same time.
I got you, man. And I know you like to keep it PG-13, so I'm gonna do that for you, man. No doubt about it.
Appreciate you.
Respect the channel, you know what I'm saying? But
Appreciate you. Respect you, and I appreciate you jumping on, man.
oh yeah, anytime, man. Like I said, anytime I'm free, man. I'm ready to get in. Um, man, my thoughts on this are just like, man. I mean, this is just straight up to me, just a money grab for these guys. Can't really take it serious as a real fight. I hope they don't give him another win like they did against McGregor. Like that was to me, that was just pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I was glad he beat him. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
like,
of
I
course.
don't like that McGregor guy, but it was that should not have counted on his record.
No.
I think it's this, man. This really does show how bad these promoters are these days, man. That they're not willing to work with each other to make good fights, do cross promoting. And then you got old guys like Tyson. Now, don't get me wrong. I know Tyson's a big fan favorite amongst a lot of fight fans and a lot of casuals. I mean, you would not believe the amount of casuals were hitting me up about this fight with Tyson and Jones, man.
Facts.
And I mean, that just goes to show you again how bad the relationships are between these promoters nowadays, where these guys are drawing more interest than any of the current fighters, man. Like Tyson, Tyson comes back after 15 years, and he's the A side over everybody. Anybody want to fight Tyson right now? I don't care what division you're in. You want to fight Tyson? He's the A side right now, man. Unbelievable. I mean,
my back is broken. Spinal.
I mean, is that what's going to happen here? I mean, if this thing does 1 million or so, like, I mean, is Logan Paul, whoever he decides to fight next, let's say he wants to fight another professional fighter. I mean, is he going to be the A side? I mean, this is ridiculous.
At some point, we have to start thinking, even as boxing promoters. Okay, Logan Paul lost to KSI. Mayweather's probably going to beat him up. Then if he fights another professional, he's probably going to get beat up. Mm-hmm. How much juice are you going to squeeze out of a bad orange? Think about it. And when you squeeze that juice and you inject it into the sport of boxing, is it doing more harm than good to the sport of boxing? Because the more you damage the sport, the bigger the hit on your wallet for future fights. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
It's a fact, promoters should not be focusing just on how much can we make that night. No. Focus on the future of the sport. Go ahead, man.
Exactly. Long term, man. The big picture here,
Dumpster juice.
Yeah, that's my little saying there, man. Dumpster juice. And that's exactly what this is here, man. I mean, This guy, Logan Paul, couldn't even beat another guy who's a gamer like him, a KSI guy. Now, I know there's some people and I called that fight live when it happened. And there's some people that think that he won the fight. Like, Logan Paul got robbed, and they might have a case. But still, this guy couldn't even beat a guy who's not even a real fighter. Like, what makes you think he has a chance against Mayweather? Like, you're right, man. It only draws interest from the YouTube guys. I don't even know if a lot of Mayweather's fans are going to enjoy watching this. Facts. There might be some, but I don't know about all of them. And,
I mean, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, and I was just gonna say, the only good I could see coming out of this and helping the sport is if some of these guys that just strictly know Logan Paul from what he does on YouTube, maybe they might enjoy it, and then maybe they might turn into boxing fans in the future. I mean, who knows? That's what I'm hoping for. That some of these guys eventually come to the sport of boxing, but I think a majority of them won't. Like you said earlier, the guys that came to see Logan Paul fight KSI, like, they came to see them. They didn't come to see Billy Joe Saunders fight or Devin Haney fight. And that's a crime to me, man. That's really a crime to me.
Yep. That's what I was going to ask you, if you thought that I was correct in the sense that, because here's the deal. My whole theory on this, and it's a theory because obviously I don't have any evidence, or I do have evidence, but not strong enough. My theory is that this YouTube influencers, followers are occupying seats that could be easily occupied by real boxing fans that will stay to the end of the card that night. Do you think that's the case?
I agree. Yeah, I agree that if those guys happen to be on the undercard of, let's say, oh, if they would decided to put Haney that night as the main event, or Billy Joe Saunders, like if these guys fought first, I mean, the Haney and Saunders might be fighting in an empty arena,
Facts.
like, and
Facts.
that's really bad, man. That's really really bad. And again, these promoters, man, they really got to do their job, man. They're not doing it, man. If you could get guys again that aren't even real fighters to draw this kind of money, like, I mean, you really got to do some work yourself, man, with these fighters, because I mean, there's a lot of good young talent out there, man.
Facts. Yep.
A lot of good talent, and it's just not being promoted the way it should, man.
They're not being promoted the way they should. They're not being paid the way they should. Look, I can tell you this firsthand experience. We had a fighter here in Kentucky, 22-0. Okay, track with me. 22-0, $550 for a fight.
Oh,
22-0, $550 for a fight. Now, mind you, out of $550, 10% went for his coach, 33% went to his agent. How much that fighter kept in his pocket? Nothing. He
nothing.
was nothing to begin with, right? And then the promoter, which was Bug Eye Promotion, which is a company of the past, and I'm glad they got shut down. They were selling out the fairgrounds. And the fairgrounds here is huge. I mean, it's like a basketball arena. It's huge. They were selling it out, hot dogs, t-shirts, clappers, balloons. I mean, they were making thousands of dollars. Let me tell you what got them shut down. This is how corrupted promoters are from the highest level to the lowest level. The last time I worked a professional corner was a female boxer out of Indiana, Terry. I just don't remember her last name specifically because it's been a while. Every fighter fought that night. None of them got paid.
Mm,
None of them got paid. And
wow.
the guy, to escape jail time, had to sell his house and all that stuff and come up with some fees and citations. And that's it. The fighters never got paid. Ever.
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
corruption. It's corruption from the highest level to the lowest level. Except that at the highest level, they're smarter. Yeah, we're going to give you a mil. When in reality, they know you're worth 1.5 mil. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And fighters are getting discouraged. We're not getting the good fights. And that's why fans are running like crazy with a straw to drink that trash can juice that you said that what's that?
Juice.
You know what I'm saying? It's just a fact, man. It's just a fact. But let's see here. Harper, you mean?
Maybe he's talking about a fighter, or I don't know. I think that's what he's talking about, though.
No, that if you're talking about the 22-0 fighter out of Louisville, Kentucky, no, it's not Harper. It's not Harper. His last name wasn't Harper. Well, anyways, let's leave this dump truck juice crap aside, and let's talk about the king of the 147 fight, 147 division. The king, the guy that answered all of the questions, the guy that last night wasn't supposed to just stroll through the park, even though some people had it closer. My card for that fight was 10 rounds to 2. I gave Danny Garcia the second round, and I gave Danny Garcia the 10th round. I felt that there were some rounds that were close that could have gone either way. The only reason I went with Errol on those rounds as well was because although there was an even amount of exchanges, I felt that Errol was a little sharper than Danny Garcia was and less timid. The jab did it for me specifically in those rounds that were close, but still went towards Errol Spence in my card. What did you have at G-Funk? Raw and uncut.
Yeah,
Saludos, raza. Hey,
I thought it was a good fight, man. And it kind of worked out a little bit the way like I thought it would. I see a lot of people complaining about Garcia's punch output and things like that. But you know what? Danny's Danny, man. That's just who he is. You know, there is some things going around though about how he actually threw a lot more punches in this fight than he has in the past. It certainly didn't seem that way to me watching it live, but I feel like Danny just did what Danny does, and I feel like he was able to capitalize on some of the things that uh, Spence does, like when he comes in and he commits to his shots, he was able to counter him with some good shots, but just not enough. Spence's jab, and he came out quick too on Danny. That's how he swelled up that eye pretty early. The jab, I really love Spence's jab, just a really good jab, and you could tell he started to get a little bit tired, man, towards the end of the fight. And he even said that himself afterwards. He said, I got a little bit tired. He'd been off for a long time, and he had that, the car crash and things like that. So that's to be expected. But those are the rounds I gave to Danny. It was like 3 straight rounds. When I say it was like round 9 through 11, where Spence just kind of, got on the bike a little bit and, took some rounds off. But early on, I gave Danny a couple rounds. So the fight was a little bit closer on my card. I had a lot of rounds that were close. But I could see how somebody could give it, a lot of rounds to Spence, because I had quite a few rounds that were close on my card. But Spence did his thing, man. And I just want to say this, man. I didn't consider I shouldn't say consider, but I didn't put in my prediction about his car accident and all that. He said he was 100% ready to go, so I took his word for it, and he was.
Sure.
He came through on his word, and I'm glad he recovered. I really am, because most people don't recover from those things. And I know there was a lot of talk. A lot of people coming on my show and my channel were saying things like, you just don't recover from something like that. And a majority of the time that is true. But I mentioned this last night on my show, my post-fight show, where I said I knew a coworker about 5 years ago who got into a really bad collision on his motorcycle, and he almost described it the same way that Spence did. And he says he just doesn't remember, just remembers waking up in the hospital, and that's it. That's exactly what he told me. He said he just remembers T-boning a car on his motorcycle and then waking up in the hospital. Now, I want to say it was probably about a year later. He had been off for a year. He showed up to work to fill out some paperwork, and let me tell you something, man. This guy, like, he could barely speak. He's walking around, and I walk up to him, I'm like, hey, man, how you doing? You doing all right? He's speaking to me, and let me tell you, bro, he's got drool, just running out of his mouth, and he's just like, I can't help it, man. Just, part of the thing, part of the, I was like, man, I felt really bad for the guy, but you know what? 6 months later, he was back at work full time. And, his speech was much better. The drooling was gone. The control of his muscles and everything was much better. So, people can recover from this sort of thing, man. Everybody's different. Everybody's body's different. We're all made the same, but again, we all recover different. We all heal different.
Yeah, correct.
So we know now Spence is good, and I'm glad that he's okay. As for Danny, I'm not quite sure where he goes from here. Subscriber of mine, Run PMC, last night suggested a fight between him, Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia. I said, hey, that might be a pretty interesting fight, but we'll see, but I like what I saw from Spence last night, man, considering all that happened to him.
I'll tell you what I saw on Spence Jr. last night was a better Spence Jr. than before the accident. Track with me for a second. Mm-hmm. Before the accident, Spence Jr. was going down a dark path, homie. The party was getting out of hand in his lifestyle. Yeah. Slowly but surely becoming an alcoholic, and I know that to be true. And it was as if this accident was allowed in his life to, it's kind of like wake up and smell the coffee, it's time to roll sort of thing. Hey, listen, this is how you're living. It could be gone in a split second. How do you choose to live it from now on? You know what I'm saying?
Great point.
And then you saw the drastic measures and changes that he did in his life. He moved out of downtown Dallas, bought a ranch, and now he's a country boy. He's a country boy. Beautiful life, because, hey, pretty soon that's going to be me too. Me and my wife, we're looking for land. You know what I mean? We're going to have a little a little granjita pretty soon, you know. But I
Ah,
understand. I understand why he made those changes. Basically, he took himself out of that lifestyle because he knew if he stayed in downtown, it wasn't gonna happen.
yeah.
Danny Garcia, to me, last night didn't get the credit that he actually deserved throughout the fight. And we're gonna go through this comment, Camper Cat. That's why I kept this comment there. And then we're gonna go to Jazz Musician, and then to Khalil Burton. So we're gonna get to your comments in order. Just be patient with us for a second. Danny Garcia put more work than he got credit for last night. Somehow today's boxing fans are looking at a fight and only looking at the fight at the punches that are being connected to the head, and somehow ignoring the effective body shots that are being thrown.
Hmm.
Last night, Danny Garcia put some effective body work. Okay. Now keep in mind, I still have it 10-2 for Earl. My thing was Danny Garcia went like if he had some sort of, I don't want to say fear. Let's just put the word respect. Some sort of respect for Errol Spence to where he didn't let his hands go as much as he should have. Because although that he threw more punches last night, he had to have known that it was still not enough, that he had to put a little more work to get the
Yeah.
job done last night. His father was constantly telling him, by the way, by the 8th round, I found Angel Garcia, that corner, without ideas. Without ideas, because
It
the thing
seemed
is,
like it. Yeah.
yeah, but because the thing is, how much can you come up with in your head when you've been telling your fighter for 8 rounds to execute this and he still has not been able to pull it? You see what I'm saying? That's what was
Mhm.
happening last night. So, to me, in my opinion, the way that Errol Spence handled Danny Garcia, a guy that fought Porter. Did he fight Porter? Yeah, he
Yeah.
fought Porter. A guy that fought Keith Thurman. Danny Garcia did not get beat up like that versus Thurman. He ain't get beat up like that versus Porter. You know,
Hmm.
he got beat up last night. So that right there, this is not so much that Danny Garcia is bad. By the way, if you're thinking Danny Garcia is bad because he lost, I don't want to offend you, but I'll just say you don't know nothing about boxing. It's not so much that Garcia is bad, but how great Earl Spence is becoming. And I'm saying becoming because he is not great yet. At 30 years of age, he still has a couple of more years of learning in there, believe it or not. And
Yeah.
how do we know that to be true? Because you see it in every fight. Every single fight he comes back, he has a better jab, stiffer jab. He has better defense. In this fight, you didn't see him committing to the punches as we're used to seeing him. He got hit a little less, even though Danny tested that chin. And that was a question that all of us had. Like, is he going to be able to take a shot coming back from the accident? You know, and Danny
Yeah.
Garcia tested that chin. You see that boy going back to the corner, like, and he wipes, kind of like telling people, hey, this chin is on flick. This chin can take whatever you bring, and I'm going to bring something right back. So it's not so much that Danny Garcia, that Garcia is bad. To me, it's just that upper echelon, that upper or higher step that Earl took last night in his career. So the question now is, just because I don't want to keep Camper waiting, Danny Garcia towards the end of his career, I have to respectfully disagree. What you think? What you think on that, G Funk?
No, I don't think he's at the end of his career. You know, I'm glad you mentioned Angel Garcia and the job he did last night, because maybe it might be time for him to move on from his father. You know, and we've seen this a lot in the past with fighters, man, that have their fathers trainers that can get them so far, and then
And
it
that's it.
might be time to move on. You know.
They reach that plateau effect. But see, you know what the problem is with that, though, G, is a lot of fighters will not make that move because they fear that the relationship between them and their parents is going to break, right?
Hmm.
And so they get stuck on that. You have to remember that the fighters that made that choice went on to be great. Roy Jones Jr., one of them. It came a time where he said, Dad, you go your way, I go my way. And he continued on his career and became great. So to me, Danny Garcia at the age of, what is it, 31, 32?
Yeah,
32,
something in
right?
the early
And
30s. Yeah.
Okay, Danny Garcia still has 3 good competitive years left in him. Can we have a complete makeover? Absolutely not. But I can tell you that we can take him, that a good trainer that will pretty much get in his head. Listen, let's start forgetting about the knockouts for a minute. Let's start focusing on your technical aspect, on your ring generalship. Let me see those legs. Take the concrete out of your boot and let's put some feathers in it. I want to see you move a little more. Snap those punches. I want to see you start to outbox comfortably your opponent. If he can find a trainer that's willing to do so and able to do so, educate him down that road, we can see a pretty good Danny Garcia for the next 2 or 3 years. Will it happen though? I don't think so. I think the bond between him and his dad is too strong. So I respectfully disagree. I don't think he's towards the end of his career. I do think his career will continue to either plateau and down from time to time if it stays with his dad. However, if he makes a change in his corner, you might see it go from a plateau and climb a little bit and then eventually reach that downhill effect because age does not forgive. And once it comes and you can't stop it. So what's next for Danny? In my opinion, and I don't know if you agree with me, I think I posted in your live. I think Yordenis Ugas is a legitimate opponent.
Yes.
He's not getting the credit he deserves. This is a kid that beat Sean Porter. He got robbed against Sean Porter. And I know many of you will probably say I'm being biased because he's Cuban and I'm Cuban. So be it. But at the end of the day, facts cannot be disputed. And if you know boxing, you would know that he got robbed. He got robbed versus Porter. That night, he showed that he is a competitor in that division. And I think Danny Garcia and Yordenis Ugas will be a good fight for both fighters. If Danny Garcia beats Ugas, that will launch him and put him as a. To me, he's still top 5, top 6, but I would say that being top 5, top 6 right now is not positioning him to like a credible opponent. If he beats Ugas, I think he can go after, say, a rematch with Thurman. He can go for a Mikey Garcia. Why not a Garcia card? You know what I mean? But I think for Danny Garcia, what's next in my book should be a Yordenis Ugas. What you think about that?
That's another good fight too. And I could tell you this. You know, you spoke on people might be calling you biased because Ugas is Cuban and so are you. Well, look, I'm not Cuban, and I felt he won that fight as well. Now, I didn't actually score the fight. When that fight took place, I wasn't at home, but I was able to watch it where I was at, so I didn't have the pen in the pad, right there, keeping track.
Correct.
But I definitely walked away from that fight thinking, and when that final bell rang, I'm thinking, okay, Ugas won this fight. And then when they announced Sean Porter, I was like, I was like, I don't know about that one, Sean.
But I wasn't shocked, man. I wasn't shocked.
Yeah,
like we all saw it coming. To be honest with you.
Yeah, and Ugas again. It's his next fight after that when he wins the WBA regular. I remember watching that fight as well, and I felt he dominated the kid. And I think one of the judges either had him losing or had the fight like a draw or something. And I'm just like, wow, like this is crazy, like the guy clearly won the fight, and still barely gets the decision, like I mean, besides all that, we know how that works, but we'll just move on from that because I think a good fight. I think him and Garcia is a good fight as well. Real good fight.
Yeah, correct. Well, and I think that we've seen atrocities like this in the past in the world of boxing. Oscar De La Hoya versus Tito Trinidad. We've seen Oscar De La Hoya versus Pernell Sweet Pea. My opinion, my respectful opinion, my humble opinion, I gave that fight to Sweet Pea by an edge.
Me too.
You see Paul Williams versus Erislandy Lara. You see the Canelo Alvarez versus Mayweather. A judge had it as a draw. I don't know in what universe, but one of those judges somehow saw a draw out of that fight. It's never going to stop in boxing, right? But somehow with the Ugas and Porter case, you had to have known that it doesn't matter what Ugas did. Unless he got a knockout that night, he wasn't going to come out victorious. That's just a fact. So moving on to the jazz musician. He says, The constant jab from the southpaw position is what caused Danny to fight the way that he did. Yes, but it was more than just the jab. It was more than just the jab. It's the fact that Sean Porter, the fact that Errol Spence Jr. was able to keep that fight from the out and partially at
Outside.
mid range. You know, he consistently put pressure and was on Danny's grill, but not recklessly. He kept it at a mid range and at a long range. That jab was the key to open the door. And if you notice how he would hit that jab, hook to the body, hit that jab, hook up top, it was a very, very methodical breakdown of Danny Garcia. You know, but definitely, I do agree with your comment. I'm just adding to it. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just simply adding to it. Again, last night, just Spence Jr. just showed that. Listen, I ain't gone nowhere. This is my division. What you think about that, G Funk?
Yeah, I agree. And I said this in my prediction, and I said this after the Mikey Garcia fight, that I think Spence got the best jab right now at 147, and maybe in boxing, man. I think his jab is really, really, really good. He doesn't telegraph it like a lot of guys do when they shoot that hard shotgun jab. You know, it's not the fastest jab in the world, things like that, but he throws it, and it's sharp, straight, and like I said, you don't see it coming.
It's a hydraulic arm. Boom.
Yeah,
boom.
you're able to hit guys, like smaller guys who are used to fighting guys with much faster hand speed, like a Mikey Garcia. You're able to constantly hit him with the jab like that, man. That tells you something about it, you know. And I said this also as soon as I heard this fight was announced earlier this year, that Spence, he would have to fight Danny Garcia almost the same way that he fought Mikey Garcia, and not the way that he fought Sean Porter. Like
Correct.
Sean Porter forced him into a war, and it made for a great fight. That was one of the best fights I've seen in a long time. But I feel he took a lot of unnecessary shots, but that's credit to Sean Porter for being able to get around that jab, force him back, and things like that. And those are things that Danny Garcia just doesn't do. You know, and that's why I picked Spence to win the fight last night. And he did utilize the hell out of that jab, and he did a great job of keeping Danny Garcia off balance.
And I think that it also had to be discouraging for Garcia to be testing that chin, because he did got some punches in that chin and saw that it was having zero effects. Just zero effects. To know that the only reason you won a few rounds is basically because your opponent decided to play with you. That had to have been mentally discouraging for Danny Garcia. And so, yeah, I mean, the man is just great. It's not that Garcia is bad. Spence is just great and getting better.
Yeah, Spence is just a better fighter. And I love this about guys like I should just say, after the fight, the first thing we heard out of Danny Garcia's mouth was he was just a better man. And fighters out there, take notes.
Deontay Wilder.
Take notes, all right? Nothing wrong with that, man. Just, hey, the guy was a better man. I'll be back. That's nothing wrong with that,
man. The Bible says in Proverbs 32. Moving on, man. Hey, thank you, jazz musician Khalid Burton. Let's see. Good to see you back, Raw Boxing. One of the originals, OG of YouTube Boxing Talk. Hey, thanks, man. Hey, we're trying to make a comeback. Boxing is getting exciting, and here we are, man.
It is good to see you back, man. I want to say that because I was subscribed to you all the way when you were at Cuba. Oh, was it Cuba 09 or something like that?
Man, you are one of the original OG followers of Raw, man. Yeah. You've been with me from Cuba 09.
Yeah, that was
for real, man.
Stuff. That was some good stuff back then, man. And hey, now that you're back, I'm looking forward to some more good stuff, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're gonna stay consistent. Chicano Prophet. I think Ugas is a very formidable welterweight. I think so too. I think luck has not been on his side. I think the other problem for Ugas is the same problem that every single Cuban boxer faces in the United States, and not only in the United States but in the whole world, really. But it's more noticeable in the United States. It's the lack of followers. Here in the United States, there's less than 5 million Cubans. And so when you take that into consideration, out of those 5 million Cubans, maybe maybe less than a million are very interested in boxing, because you have to mix in the fact that there's older people, there's all kinds of people that are not into boxing. So, but nevertheless, I agree with you. He started off in the wrong weight division. He was too skinny, uh, no power. He moved in with Ismael Salas. The first thing Ismael Salas did, told him, "Man, you're gonna have to start eating. We got to put we're gonna have to put some weight on you." And he did. He put on the weight, and what happened? Knockout, knockout, knockout. Defeated 4 consecutive undefeated fighters. Right? Dispatched them all. So obviously, you saw the change on the guy's physique, the way that he felt, assimilated punches. Now you saw him dropping people, and he's where he's at because of hard work and dedication. Ain't nobody giving Ugas nothing. That's why I give this kid a lot of credit, because he started stumbling in his career, and he was smart enough to say, "Hey, coach, listen, you ain't working for me, man. Thank you so much, but I got to move on." He moved out. I think he was living in New Jersey. He moved out of New Jersey, moved to Vegas, went under Ismael Salas, and look at the fighter he is today. And he's still young, man. As long as he stays dedicated to the sport, he's going to continue being top 10, at least, in my book. Let's see. Camper Cat William. They should make former boxers judges. Yes and no. Yes and no. Here's why. I get what you're saying. And it makes sense. It makes sense. But here's the deal. You're also going to find fighters that hold grudges. Okay? Now, if you're talking older boxers like the Tysons, like 50 years and plus, yes. Fighters that have not faced current active fighters. Because if you start taking freshly retired fighters that potentially lost against the current active fighters, there's nothing that's guaranteeing you their honesty judging that same fighter. That's just my opinion. What do you think, G-Funk?
Yeah, that could be a problem for sure. Some guys are able to move on quickly. Some guys aren't, and you just don't want one of those guys.
Can you imagine Deontay Wilder judging a Tyson Fury fight?
Man. That would not be pretty. No. But I agree. They should make people more that have more experience actually boxing judges. But even then, I still think it'd be tricky. I mean, something definitely has to be done, but I just don't know what the right answer is, man. I've thought about that long and hard, man, and it's just it's one of those things, man, that I don't know if we'll ever get the right answer.
Yeah, I think the only solution, to be honest with you, it would be that just super old fighters that's been retired for 10 plus years, that has no connection to current active fighters, and just educate them very little, because they know the sport, they know what they're looking for on a fight, but just educate them a little bit, and they could they can make for great judges. But definitely not no freshly retired fighters. So that's just my humble opinion on that matter. And one last thing I want to touch on before we close here. I want to close in the next maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Let me be the controversial one here for a second, because the word ducking is becoming too famous today in the YTBC, right? You already see that, according to the YTBC new media, or whatever that media are, Teofimo is ducking Haney for not fighting, right? Whatever the case might be. Watch this, though. Watch this. Can we easily say that if Bud Crawford doesn't push to make a fight against Porter, can we say that he's ducking Porter?
I know they would say that for sure. Yeah.
Because now they're turning on Bud Crawford. But let me tell you something. I think that Sean Porter should be Bud Crawford's next fight.
I believe he's mandatory according to the WBO. Yeah, and from my understanding, now I haven't seen anything on this, but I thought I heard somebody say that he's gonna pursue that. Like he's gonna, I'm going after that belt, and that's a hell of a fight, man. Sean Porter and Bud Crawford. I would love to see that.
And I'm glad that Sean Porter was very clear last night. They asked him, about Spence. He said, "Look, I've already fought Thurman. I've already fought Spence. I have not fought Sean Porter. I mean, I have not fought Bud Crawford." And they told him, "Well, he says that you guys are friends. We ain't friends. We ain't friends." So we know for a fact that Sean Porter, in my opinion, top 3 welterweight or top 4 maybe, is looking for Bud Crawford. So at the end of the day, who was the one that says, "Well, if they're friends to each other, then they owe it to each other to fight each other"? Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
So if Sean Porter, if Bud Crawford is saying, "Well, Sean Porter's my friend," well then, Bud, you owe it to fight him because you're trying to pay some bills.
Got to make some money,
right?
man.
So now we know for a fact that Porter wants that smoke from Crawford, not from Spencer Jr., not from Thurman, not from Danny Garcia. He already said, "I already fought those guys. I have not fought this guy. This is the guy I want." So if the fight doesn't get made, would it be fair to assume the Butt is ducking Spence Jr.? I mean, Porter.
I mean, here's what I'll say. I'm not quite sure if he has one more fight left on Top Rank. From what I thought, I thought that his fight with Brook was his last fight under Top Rank, and that he would either re-sign or become a free agent or go to PBC. If he's still a Top Rank, then I don't see that fight happening next. But if he's not, and he's a free agent or whatever, and he's the mandatory, then I would say yes, he would have to fight him next.
Of course.
And Porter, I mean, he's fought just about everybody. At 147. He's fought, Brook beat him for the IBF a few years back. So he's fought Kell Brook when he was still 100% before he had his face broken. He's fought Spence. He's fought Danny Garcia. He's fought Keith Thurman. He's fought Ugas. Now he didn't win all these fights, but he got in there with all those dudes, and it's time for Crawford to get in there as well,
I mean, Crawford's resume, it's not better than Spence Jr. or Sean Porter or even Keith Thurman. I mean, think about it. Crawford fought a Kell Brook that we all know what happened to Kell Brook throughout his career. He fought Amir Khan. Amir Khan. I mean, let me repeat it again. Amir Khan. Okay. He fought another big fight. Yeah. And then Gamboa. And when he fought Gamboa, it's good to mention Gamboa was coming out of a 14-month layoff and having issues with 50 Cent promotional companies. And Gamboa didn't belong in there with him. Gamboa, what the hell? That was not a fight for Gamboa. And yes, he did what he had to do and adjusted and knocked out the little man. But the fact that the little man came in and schooled you for 4 rounds, that should have been, that was a little.
I was just going to mention that. Gamboa was getting down, man, those first 4 rounds.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, Bud Crawford, in my opinion, that's one of my favorite fighters right now. But he's his mouth is cashing checks that he hasn't written. You can't be acting like you're the top dog when your resume is not, Sean Porter has a better resume than you. Garcia has a better resume. Thurman Spence has a better resume. Ugas, you can fight Ugas. Ugas beat you in the amateur. Maybe you can fight Ugas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Camper says, old Amir Khan. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I mean, Amir Khan was good all the way up until he faced Danny Garcia. Garcia was the one that finished his career. After that Danny Garcia destruction, Khan was never the same.
Yeah.
It was like you would hear, "Oh yeah, Khan's fighting this week." And you're like, I wonder in what round will he get knocked out? And it almost never failed. So man, it was it's the welterweight division is it's a lit division with talent. But once again, we're being held back from all of this promotional wars that, in my opinion, to be honest with you, should not should not happen, but unfortunately they are happening. So we'll see what happened, man. But G Funk, man, we're gonna bring this live to an end, man. I really appreciate you
Hey,
stopping by.
if you
You
don't
know,
mind, I want to ask you something real quick, man. I
oh,
don't even
go ahead,
take
man.
questions from the chat, but this
Go
weekend
ahead.
we got an ESPN card. Shakur Stevenson is headlining, but we got Robesi Ramirez, man. I want to know your thoughts on him, man. The Cuban gold medalist. What are your thoughts on him, man?
Okay, I'll tell you my thoughts on him. What's this name right here? The first three letters right here on my name. It's Raw, right? So
Uh huh.
that's how I'm gonna tell you right now. Robesi Ramirez. To me, to me,
Not that
Robesi
guy, huh?
Ramirez. Nah, nah. I mean, one, he started too old his professional career. Okay. Two, it took him a loss to realize this ain't the amateurs. You gotta, you gotta step up to the plate and you gotta make it happen. Two and three, Shakur Stevenson. A lot I've been seeing on the forums like, Shakur should fight this guy in Avengers. Shakur would kill Robesi Ramirez right now. Too big, too experienced, not the same kid. I mean, even in that fight in the amateurs, it was a close fight. We can't lie. That was a close fight that could have gone either way, but the judges saw Robesi Ramirez winning that day. But that is the problem with Cuban fighters. They spent all these years in the amateurs, and when they come to America, their best years have gone by.
Mm, yeah.
They have gone by because of the system, and they're stuck down there. They can't get out that easy. And when they get here, everybody wants to make a living for their family, but their days are gone. Their days are gone, and not everybody's a Rigondo.
Yeah.
Not everybody's a Lara. That's just a fact. And look, Sullivan Barreras is a perfect example. That kid in Cuba was a beast. I met him in person, and came here too late in his career. Sometimes to make a transition, it takes a while, and then they come to this country, and somehow, I don't know why, my Cuban fighters seem to think that when they get to this country, Miami's the place to live. Get the hell out of Miami, Cubans. Get the hell out of Miami, Cubans. Get the hell out of Miami, Cubans.
Too much partying, huh?
Get the hell out of Miami, Cubans. And I think that, look, Camper, Ortiz is an example of waiting to facts. But even Ortiz can make the argument that he did got the opportunity to fight to become the man.
The champion, yeah.
Except he came short because of the power of his opponent. But he was beating his opponent. He showed, I'm a better boxer and fighter than you.
Yeah, he almost knocked him
beat me
out
because of your power. Yeah. But that's just I'll tell you who was a great fighter. That life, the things that happen in life just pretty much was bad luck. There was a fighter back in the days of Whitaker and De La Hoya named Diosbelis Hurtado. That fighter was coming undefeated. That fighter, if he beat Pernell Whitaker, he was facing De La Hoya.
Yeah,
they couldn't let that fight happen. Yeah. He was schooling Pernell Whitaker the entire fight. What happened? He gets touched, and the referee allows something that should never be allowed in boxing. When an opponent is hanging on
the ropes, that's a knockdown.
It's a knockdown, and he allowed Sweet Pete to continue to punish on. Why? Because that De La Hoya fight had to take place with Pete and not Hurtado.
I remember
After that, Hurtado went through a depression. After that, he lost versus Costasu while fighting through a depression and addiction to alcohol, and was doing pretty good against Costasu, training 2-3 days a week to fight Costasu, which is, you already know, that's a big no-no. After that, he moves to Spain. Within a month, in one single month, 23 days to be exact, his mom dies, his younger daughter dies, his sister dies, and his grandmother dies. And then his brother jumps in the ocean, and his brother dies. All in less than a month.
Wow.
Okay? This man then decides to deal with the stress. I need to go back to the ring. And he becomes his own trainer in Spain. And he's being his own trainer, he wins a couple of good fights, but then eventually retired. So I mean, there's been great talents. They just hadn't know how to make the transition, not just technically speaking, but in life, systemically. They
Yeah.
haven't known how to make the transition. So, but
Wow, I did not know all that about him. I mean,
horrible,
I remember him.
horrible.
I remember him in that Whitaker fight for sure. But wow, that's pretty crazy to hear, man.
Horrible, man.
Yeah.
Horrible, but that's just what it is. But listen, man, I want to thank everyone that hung with us here in the live chats. I'm hoping to bring at least one live per week, and I would really appreciate if you guys would share that link throughout your social media to bring some exposure to the channel. I want to thank you, G Funk. Everyone, go follow G Funk at G Funk Boxing. You can just click on his icon on the chat section here and go follow his channel. Him and I get together from time to time, along with D Style Boxing, and do a nice little section called Hispanics Causing Panic, and he gets lit. It gets lit. I advise you guys to go check it out. Thank you guys for being interactive in this live. G Funk,
Anytime, man. Anytime,
and we're
brother.
here, my man. And that's it for now, guys. Raw Boxing TV. Subscribe, activate the notification bell. I'm out.